So this is what you end up with, and of course this was all my wife's design. So let's go through everything and tell you where I got everything from and what it all is. So starting with the flowers and the vases, these were actually purchased, these are all fake. They were purchased at the Dollar Tree, and they were all very cheap. They had a whole section of this stuff. Of course, it is getting towards Thanksgiving time. But you can get all kinds of different flowers like this. These are available on Amazon also, but they were a lot more expensive. So I would check dollar stores or even craft stores for something like this. But Michael's and other places, they can get pretty pricey too. So these are just, each individual one I think was like, I don't know, 60 cents or something. It wasn't too bad. And then the little vases were also bought at Dollar Tree. These were about $1 a piece. I think everything now is $1.25 or something there. It's not $1, but it was pretty close. And what's in here is just wheat. So you could use sand, you can use rice. They actually have at the dollar store little gravel, little different fish tank gravels or other types of things you can put in the bottom of these. But this is all just wheat. So we actually have bags and bags of this, and so we figured we would use some of it. So that's just kind of a weight, and then it works to kind of hold all your stems in place in the vase. The rest of this was purchased on Amazon. So the eucalyptus stuff, this was all purchased on Amazon. You can get a box of this stuff. It wasn't too expensive either. We ended up making 35 of these, and so we bought enough to make 35, and it didn't end up costing that much. And then the little LED lights also. So I'll put a link in the description to these two items which we purchased on Amazon. And then of course the discs of wood here. Now these are going to turn out differently depending on what kind of wood you're going to use. Some of the bark was coming off of a lot of these. That's fine because the eucalyptus kind of covers the edge of it anyway. So it wasn't that big of a deal. They are going to split as they dry out. That's just how it works. And there's lots of different ways to keep these flat. So sometimes with the chainsaw, your cuts aren't perfectly straight. I was cutting in some awkward positions and things, and so we ended up with some cuts that were a little bit off. Some of these were a little bit wobbly. And the nice thing about having two is if one is kind of shaped this way, then you can kind of position the other one in the opposite direction until they kind of lay flat. Or you can also use Play-Doh like we did here, and you can use that to kind of level these out and make them perfectly level. You don't have to do that, but with the vase sitting on top, you don't want it to be too wobbly, of course. So that is what you end up with, and the lights last a long time. We've left these on for hours and hours and hours at different locations. These were actually used at a marriage retreat that we just came back from, and then my daughter just had a homecoming thing, and her friends were over, and so we put these out for them to kind of eat down here in the atrium. Obviously, there's lots of different alterations you can do from this. You could use different flowers, you can use different vases, you could put candles on there, floating candles in glasses of water with the candle floating in it. But these wood discs are kind of the center of this, and as you can see, they all will crack. That's just how when you cut thin discs like that and they dry out, they're going to crack. Now you could do a lot more with these discs if you don't like the bark. You could actually peel the bark off. Depending on the tree you have, that'll be harder or easier. Oak has pretty thick bark. Other trees, you may have thinner bark, cherry or pine or something like that. You could also sand these down so you don't have all the chainsaw, the rough chainsaw marks and things on these. You could sand these nice and flat. If you have a planer, you could feed them through a planer, make them perfectly flat so you wouldn't have any of the rocking issues. Obviously, this is the easiest way to just leave them rough, and that's kind of the look that we were going for. So, but you could do a lot with the discs. You can seal them, you can varnish them, you could oil them, you can make them, you could really bring out the color of the wood more if you put some linseed oil or something like that on these. Or if you're using different kinds of wood, maple or cherry or black walnut, you get all different kinds. You could also vary the kinds of wood here, so use a different color wood for the smaller disc and then for the larger disc, so you have a color contrast there, which would be pretty cool as well. You also notice a lot of these discs are oblong. Of course, that just depends on the log, but these are approximately, they ended up being, the width on these is about 11 inches, and some of them are as wide as 13 inches, and then the smaller ones are ended up being about 7 inches, and they're a little oblong as well, so 7 by 6 or 6.5. So that's the sizes that we used. Of course, it depends on the size of your tables. You could go bigger or smaller, but basically we were going for about a 12-inch disc here and then about a 6-inch disc here, something like that. So hopefully you enjoyed watching me cut 70 discs. 35 big ones, 35 small ones, and we even got to cut down a tree, so that was fun. Credit goes mostly to my wife on putting all of this together. I was part of buying some of the things and cutting the wood, but that was about it. She had the idea and she put all this together, so I think she did a pretty darn good job. They turned out really nice. I'll see if I can throw some pictures up at the end here of the marriage retreat of the whole ballroom. So let me know if you guys have questions. Again, links to the things that we purchased for these will be in the description over on Amazon, and the rest of the stuff you can source locally. At dollar stores are definitely the cheapest place, but of course your craft stores are going to have a good selection of flowers and other things like that. The prices just might be a little bit higher, so it depends on how many you're doing, how many tables you have to fill. Don't forget to hit thumbs up on today's video. Share this with somebody who might be interested, and as always, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good one.